In a world where tropes run rampant, two men stand tall. Well, one not so tall. They are ready. They are steadfast. They are making it up as they go along. They are the Trope Stormers.
Hello and welcome to Trope Stormers, your titular trip through the world of tropes. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Jeeves, and I'm ably assisted by Jim Carberg. Jim, good evening.
Trope Stormers. I was just giving it a whirl.
Yeah, I see what you did there. I quite like it, but I don't know where we're going with it. So I am the trivia tool.
Trivia tool. I was the lighthouse last time.
You're the lighthouse. You're like cast adrift on an ocean of trope, the tearaway tangent that I am. You're mooring us like a lighthouse, anchoring us. So we got past the pilot, and we've commissioned another episode.
We have listeners. Plural.
Whoa.
So thanks for that, guys.
It's great to have you on board.
Much appreciated. You got the head round the format. I think we've had some feedback on it.
What was the feedback?
Well, I think my scoring system needs a bit of a review. I think I was a little bit kind on one of my favourite films last week.
I mean,
because when I look back,
you could have been a bit biased.
I kind of doubled up on some of the positives.
I didn't want to break your heart, Jim. I'm not going to lie to you. You gave me a look as if I was like about to drown your baby.
It's all part of the trope storming learning curve, isn't it?
I think so. We're still feeling our way into this. We're still working out the format, getting the kinks ironed out. Generally, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it was great fun last time, and thanks to anybody who's liked, followed, subscribed off the back of that.
Recommended even, potentially, at this early juncture.
Yeah, quite. So keep that up.
Yeah, and any newcomers, welcome. Joined us on episode 2. You have a 2-part Jurassic Park tour de force as our opener. You know, seminal podcasting work, I feel.
And you're here for the difficult second album.
It's going to be a tough act to follow, I'm not going to lie, you know. But, you know, all we can do is just wade through the quagmire that is our next choice. So
do we need to kind of recap, because it's a second episode, what we're actually trying to do with this podcast, Chris?
I think we could, but, you know, if the runtime goes on a bit, we could just edit that out. We'll see how we get on.
Yeah. So the basic premise is we are the Trope Stormers. We're trying to look at...
Are we not the titular?
Titular. We are the titular Trope Stormers.
That's the pronunciation.
Is that what we have to use each time?
I believe so.
Okay. We are the titular Trope Stormers. We are here to talk tropes in movies, TV, film.
Mass media. So, for instance, Game of Thrones recently. Ooh.
Yeah, it's all been about, without spoilers here, the big bad, the Night King.
Yep.
Coming.
Pointy head.
He is the impending doom.
He is.
Yeah, so the big bad and impending doom being classic tropes that are found in all sorts of things. So like Lord of the Rings, you've got...
Big bad things.
Indeed. Big bad red eyes.
Big bad... Oh, yeah, you've got the flaming eye on top of the tower. You got Sauron?
Sauron. Bad case of eye drops needed there.
Yep.
And then you've got people like Voldemort is a classic example of the big bad and the impending doom idea. So that's tropes, right? There's sorts of things that are found in media. And we're going to talk some more about some in...
Well, we have another movie lined up for you for tonight.
Explain, Chris.
Oh, I'm not going to get that cat out of the bag just yet. Our scoring system, we are going to be deciding whether this title is utopian or dystopian, dependent on the tropes featured and whether they are a force of good to advance the plot and the characters and the story arc, or a force of evil, they're ham-fistedly just trying to tie up loose ends and make the whole thing work when it's not.
Okay, and be confined forever to the fiery pits of tropedom of dystopia.
Yeah. I mean, we could say they'd just be cast adrift on an ocean of trope, lost with no trope, without Jim, the lighthouse, Carlberg, to rescue them.
I'm here, guys. I'm here. You're in good hands.
You know, it's a long bit of string that's tethering him to the lighthouse, you know, which he segues from. Me, I'm just out there in my boat, tin hat on, just rowing round in circles.
With your volleyball with a face on it.
Yeah, just shouting obscenities at the sky, cursing the water and just kicking it with Wilson. So, Jim, what have you been up to lately? Any updates for me since our last podcast?
Obviously, I've been managing and working hard on all things trope to do with...
Some fine editing, sir. Some fine editing
Thank
from
you.
the last episode.
Thank you very much. Fighting hard to try and make us sound like we know what we're talking about.
Yep.
And, people seemed at least to have liked it in
Huzzah.
a not singular number.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always good. And I've been enjoying things like the football, mate. It's been fantastic watching the title race.
It's all over now. I'm going to pin my colours to the mast as a Liverpool fan. It's all over by the Champions League. It's been a fun ride, and in Jurg we trust.
So you've got that to look forward to.
I'm
Obviously,
excited.
you didn't win the title, but
Is
there anything else you've been doing to keep your mind off that?
Keep my mind off that. Well, I don't know if any of our dear listeners are familiar with ITV and its output. They've been showing a lot of James Bond films. I think they got them cheap. So they're working their way through the canon of James Bond, and they currently are residing in Roger Moore territory. Not my favourite Bond. He is Partridge's favourite Bond. But me and my long-suffering girlfriend, Lisa, had the mispleasure of catching a little bit of Octopussy at the weekend. And it's a film that has not dated well, I can tell you. It's definitely not going to pass the Bechdel test. It is not very #MeToo. It is a dinosaur of misogyny. And there is a moment, and I've got it on my list here of things as Octopussy boobs zoom. Those are my words, and I will break that down for you.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Octopussy boobs zoom.
Yeah, those 3 words in a sentence tell me everything I need to know and everything you need to know. So, you know that bit in Bond, in the old ones, where he gets his toys, like Q pops by and is like, pay attention, 007.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he gets like random things. That's a trope in itself. Bond getting a series of seemingly ridiculous toys which are somehow going to be worked into the plot.
Yeah, like a laser, a pen that turns into a rocket launcher or something.
Yeah, something MacGyver like that.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where he's getting briefed and his mind wanders, as ever it does, and it is...
Old James.
I know, the cad. And Roger's attention is taken by a lady in the background who I believe is typing and is rather buxom and wearing a rather revealing low-cut top. And there's a video camera and Bond gets distracted with playing with it. And there's a screen behind him and he does what can only be described as a Benny Hill style extreme close-up of her boobs.
An Octopussy boob zoom, if you will.
Yes, like in, out, in, out.
Well, let's leave it there.
Yeah. And it had me cringing, and it had long-term suffering Lisa. It got her feminist heckles up. And I'm really surprised it made the edit and that ITV didn't just give that the chop. It was very Benny Hill-esque. Yes, it's of its time, but we've moved a long way since then. So that's my Bond-flavoured rant.
Okay.
Managed to tie it in with some tropes. You'll be proud of me.
Yeah, well done, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's a good route to segue from in terms of the trope.
I tried out your segue thing.
Yeah, thanks. So halfway there. Got a good effort there.
Yeah.
So we've got lots of talk of water, lots of talk of the sea. Bit of a clue about what we're talking about today.
You know, I didn't see that coming.
That's all right. I had to bring you back, mate.
Well done, sir. Appreciated.
We're back on track.
We're back on track.
Yeah, we were talking about this week's movie.
Yes. Exciting. So last week was your baby.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say this week is my baby, because it's not. However, on our WhatsApp conversations, other messaging services are obviously available. I was pitching hard for Back to the Future. I'm not unashamedly. I was pitching hard.
Yeah, it's a top call.
Yep. And I thought that's where we were at. And you made a very good point. It's a trilogy. It was made concurrently in a Lord of the Rings style, and the whole 3 movies are integral to the arc. So I'm happy at some point, maybe in the future, to do an episode by episode breakdown of the futures.
Yeah.
But maybe not for episode 2 of our podcast.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Chris. Right?
We're not ruling it out.
We got balls on this podcast.
We do.
Right?
Sometimes we're hurt and tickled.
Yeah. We got balls. We got stones. We got co-jones. You name it. We've got them.
Love it. Minerals.
Right? Minerals. We got the minerals. Yeah. So we're not afraid to tackle the big issues.
You said we were afraid. I'm not afraid.
We are, at some point, going to tackle Back to the Future. As God is my witness.
Sick.
I promise you now, we're going to hit that.
Mate, I just hope we've got enough road to get up to 88 miles an hour.
Where we're going, Chris?
We don't need roads.
Out of the park.
Ah.
Right. So
I'm excited.
we're not. The trouble is, if we're going to try and tackle time travel and 3 films in one for our second,
it's a tall order, but I think we can do it.
I think the audience, we need to kind of build the format a little bit further before we tackle
set out
that.
our stall, really establish ourselves on the market before we go big.
I mean, we've got The Room on the horizon, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So we've got to build our way to that somehow.
However, in said WhatsApp conversation, you did fire back with gangster movies, which, big fan, happy to do. I then think we sort of ended up with Buddy Cop. It just made so much sense. A trope-tastic movie, maybe, for dystopian or utopian purposes. Stay tuned, you'll find out.
Oof.
So we mentioned water before. There is an ocean's worth of water in this movie, but it's not Waterworld.
Oof.
And neither does it feature Kevin Costner. Okay.
I've still got a lot of movies there.
Yeah, I haven't narrowed it down too much.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay, indeed. It is most definitely not totally excellent and bodacious. However, it does feature some rather interesting lingo.
So it sounds very, very California, very.
It's got a West Coast flavour for sure.
So it's bodacious. That sounded like a Bill and Tedism to me.
You would be right, sir.
Okay, Bill and Ted.
Most egregiously.
Well, are we talking? We're talking Keanu. Are we talking?
Yes, the motherload. We have got the most wooden mannequin to ever grace the silver screen. God, I love that man. In our discussions, you threw Heat out there. I mean, it has a bank robbery subplot / plot
involving masks. Quite famously.
Famously involving masks.
Yeah,
of some ex-presidents.
Okay. Yeah, quite creepy as well, if I remember right. I remember watching this back after you suggested it, and having these fierce blue eyes behind a Ronald Reagan mask. It was quite something. Piercing eyes. It was chilling.
Almost as if a ghost had been in the room.
Oh, sir. Sir. Get that pottery wheel out now.
Oh.
Tell me more. Demi more.
Oh, sir. Snap. Yes, well played. Well, I guess we've built it up somewhat. Is it time for the big reveal?
So surfing. Bank robberies.
Keanu Reeves. Piercing blue eyes behind an ex-president's mask.
By none other than star of Ghost.
Patrick of Swayze. God rest your soul, sir. Somber moment. It can only be Point Break!
Point Break, brah. Yeah, fun movie.
It was fun. It was silly fun. It'd been a little while since I'd seen it, and it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, the clip that you sent me sending up like the comedy trailer, it really like nails it. Like an FBI agent is going to infiltrate a gang of surfers who are committing bank robberies. Why? It's the 90s. I mean, it's obscene. It's crazy in its premise. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it's magnificently, stupidly, wonderfully action-packed.
In its defense, it is the best surfing bank robbery film I've ever seen to date.
Hands down. But is that by default?
That's the thing. It's also the worst surfing bank robbery film
It's got every accolade
I've ever seen, which clearly makes it the only one. So 1991.
91.
So we're going back again, further than Jurassic Park.
2 years prior. Yep.
So I was very young when this film came out. So I didn't see this really until I got to university. Really, it's one of those things where back in the days of the digitally versatile disc, nice. Which I've got somewhere, I think I use them as coasters now or something.
Yeah, they're pretty much, as obsolete formats go, they are worthless. They're out there with the mini disc.
It's one of these ones you used to pick up for like 3 for £10
in the bargain
in
bin.
the bargain bins.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that and it having, I wouldn't quite say pride of place on my shelf at university, but you know, it was there somewhere in the bargains, and you know, a great fun watch, stupid as hell, but yeah, it's one of the early 90s action films that I remember watching, enjoying. Big fan of Patrick Swayze. God rest his soul. You know, he generally is a ghost now, so let's hope that he's getting angry and shifting.
Life imitating fiction.
Life imitating
art.
Life
imitating art, as the phrase would go.
Indeed.
See, my introduction to this was actually quite recent. Big fan of the Bill and Ted films. Like that was almost my Jurassic Park. I think that accolade is reserved for Back to the Future. I only saw this a couple of years ago, and I think I was quite hungover when I watched it. I just wanted like an easy watch with my housemates. Yeah, I remember just really enjoying it being the right movie for my frame of mind at that point of time. And going back and watching it as I did last night, yeah, it's pretty daft. It's, I mean, it's got a big end director behind it, Catherine Bigelow, who is more famous for The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. This was her 6th outing as a director, and it was also executively produced by none other than James Cameron of Terminator and Avatar and Titanic and other things.
So I believe they were married at the time, weren't they?
They were married at the time, yes. And he wasn't credited due to some sort of wrangling with the Actors Guild of America.
I mean, did that go badly? Because, I mean, she produced some pretty dark films after that. I mean, bomb disposal and the assassination of bin Laden following this. That's a heavy tonal shift.
I don't want to comment on Messrs. Cameron and Bigelow's post-marital states. There was quite a gap for both of them before they sort of picked up. So maybe they had a bit of a sort of time in the wilderness. I don't know.
He was buggering off in submarines all the time.
I'm purely speculating at this point. I have nothing else to go on.
Okay, very diplomatic there, Chris.
Yeah.
So 1991, Catherine Bigelow. We'll talk cast in a bit, but talk budget to me.
Well, I'd say it was...
Talk money to me.
I'd say a snip, but then I thought again, like, where did they spend the money? It cost $24 million to make. Bear in mind, the record at the time was still Terminator 2 with $102 million to make. And it went on to gross $97 million.
Wow.
So it took her a while to surpass this. So she must have just been, like, knocking about Hollywood, just trading off Point Break. Not a bad place to be, don't get me wrong.
So, and there's a good cast in this as well.
There is a good cast. Obviously, we've mentioned the Sways. Obviously, Keanu. And then, is it Bussey? Bussey? How would we say that?
Gary Bussey, I believe.
Gary Bussey, who plays Papaz, who is kind of a deranged... He's the cop in those movies where it's like, he's a complete live wire. He's a complete loose cannon, but he gets results. Although in this case, he's not quite getting results. It kind of feels like he's fallen on hard times. And at the beginning of the film, he's charged with rescuing 2 bricks off the bottom of a swimming pool blindfolded, which for some inexplicable reason is part of basic FBI training, on-the-job training. Get those bricks. Even he questions it in the movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I something tells me that Gary Bussey is a bit of a loose unit. He, I think that was probably an improv day, and he just brought 2 bricks and a blindfold in, and they kind of just... He said, where's the pool? And they went with it.
I mean, he was in Predator 2 previously, and he plays the same character in that, like unhinged, strange, bordering deranged personality disorder cop. I mean, if he was typecast in the early 90s, he was getting the roles at least.
So yeah, Papaz. I think he probably chose his own name as well as a character, because that's just what is that?
Yeah.
But it's a cop movie. So the premise behind it is that it's a crime thriller.
Mm-hmm. Your buddy cop movie. So we've got Keanu Reeves, Gary Bussey as Papaz, and then Keanu Reeves as Johnny Utah. Johnny Utah.
There's a bit of a story behind this, isn't there? I think.
But Johnny Utah as a name. So, my research has turned up that the screenwriter for this movie got paid a princely $6,000, which meant he wasn't able to make ends meet at the time, so he had to get a part-time job waitering tables. He was a big sports fan and apparently drew inspiration on Johnny Utah's name from the NFL quarterback Joe Montana. Johnny Utah, though, just sounds a bit pants. And it's not a plausible name.
You don't really get away with stuff like that these days in films. It kind of seems a bit ironic or lampooned. So it springs to mind with stuff like, I guess in literary form, you've got things like Jack Reacher. Jack Reacher is kind of this kind of action hero. And then you've got things like Duncan Idaho in the Dune series, which kind of follows on with that weird American state thing. But Frank Herbert's Dune, yeah.
I only read the book. I've never seen the film.
Well, there's a new one apparently.
I'm very excited about this.
Maybe we'll look into Dune as a book and other things. There's a great video game of Dune. Probably plays like absolute tripe now.
Like Quake.
Yeah. No, there's
IDDQD and all that.
Never go back, folks. Never go back.
IDDKFA.
Yeah. So Johnny Utah, Keanu Reeves. He's the protagonist.
He's the main hero in it. Little factoid for you here. You know, I love a factoid. So this film did win some awards, surprisingly. They might not be the awards you'd think they'd win, but MTV decided to honour Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves were both nominated for Most Attractive Male in 1991.
Bussey didn't get a look in.
Bussey was a long shot. You know, you wouldn't have got good odds, but, you know, had it have paid out, it would have been a good payday. No. Can you hazard a guess as to who scooped that? Bear in mind, it is Pottery Scene Ghost Man versus Ted Theodore Logan.
Did Johnny Utah come and steal the show? Is that what happened?
Yeah, he won.
Wow.
He won. And for that performance, he shouldn't have won anything. Swayze was a backseat and just purely a runner-up in this affair. It's tragic.
Swayze, of course, is the villain in this. He's quite an enigmatic villain.
Yeah, he's kind of like a weird Buddhist Yoda, new age, hippie, surfer, righteous stoner.
What an image.
Yeah, and what Barnett. He looks great.
He's a good-looking man. He was really... and it does surprise me that he didn't win that award. Yeah, so he's this kind of Zen guy. We should bear premise of the story is that Johnny Utah, who goes undercover with that name in the worst undercover movie of all time.
That is a good point. Like, surely you change your name. You're going undercover. Hiding in plain sight. It's like when James Bond, to segue back to Roger Moore, just introduces himself as James Bond to everybody.
Shittest spy in the world.
Yeah, like terrible spy. Like in spy circles and espionage circles, the name's gonna get around. You know, surely you assume other identities and covers and have a backstory. You can't just always be James Bond.
Here's that Bond twat with the gadgets again.
Oh, here he comes.
Shaking and stirring.
Don't worry, just like send some boobs towards him. He'll be anybody's.
So yeah, worst undercover FBI agent of all time, Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah
has to infiltrate Patrick Swayze Bodie's gang.
His surfer gang.
And he does that quite easily, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, all it really takes is like a fake backstory with a really poorly drawn female lead, played by Laurie Petty, who plays Tyler, who is kind of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, or Manic Pixie Tank Girl, I think some people refer to it as. I mean, that's almost a trope in and of itself, if a character can also be a trope. Like, it's kind of...
Of course.
The girl of your dreams who kind of ticks all the boxes, but is kind of really tough and kooky and quirky. And like Zooey Deschanel is often held up as the archetypal Manic Pixie Dream Girl. This is kind of like a cheap knockoff that does surfing, in my humble opinion. So yeah, all he has to do is just basically make up a load of like lies about how his parents died because her parents died. So suddenly, almost before her eyes, she suddenly takes pity on him, whereas before she was pouring scorn all over him. and suddenly volunteers to give him surfing lessons. And through association, he gets inducted into Bodhi's gang. He plays a bit of football, and boom, he's the boy.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we talk about tropes there. It's like he seemingly can be able to do a great deal very easily in this film.
He can't deliver lines.
Well, yeah, maybe that's the kryptonite of his character. But yeah, he's a college football player,
all-state college football player.
All-state, yeah, Utah for
Ohio.
Ohio, ironically.
Yeah. No one picks up on that.
No, he plays all-state football.
Quarterback. He's the hero. He's the jock in the varsity jacket that all the chicks want to get with.
And the FBI, this is where it gets really stupid, isn't it? Where it says the FBI say, you've got to infiltrate this gang who we think are surfers. So we're going to pay to teach you how to surf. And that happens.
Now, as daft as that sounds, and it is daft, don't get me wrong, this actually happened.
Shut the front door, my friend.
Yeah. Substitute surfing for Hell's Angels bikers. This actually happened. The FBI did recruit somebody and tried to get them to infiltrate the Hell's Angels bike gang.
Well, that's a bit different, surely, isn't it? It's just about learning to ride a bike and then... Because they're an actual gang. That's a thing.
It's a real thing. Yeah. I'm just saying. No, you're right. It is absolutely ridiculous, but there is some reflection in reality, tenuous as that link might be.
But they changed their name from flipping Johnny Utah. Certainly.
But since we're focusing on Johnny Utah, the film wasn't always called Point Break. It was originally called Johnny Utah, which I don't know about you. Would not have invited me to go and watch this film. It was that was then dropped, and they tried out Riders of the Storm.
Sounds a bit Western, that, doesn't it?
It does. Obviously, that's influenced by The Doors. If like the eagle-eared amongst you might also realise that The Doors song has nothing to do with surfing whatsoever. So that was then dropped, and Point Break was a name that they came up with partway through filming it. And it seemed to fit.
Like Rip Curl, something to do with...
Rip Curl. Wasn't that like a brand?
Yeah, it was a very 90s clothing brand.
Very 90s.
Had some very dodgy Rip Curl...
I still remember like a Rip Curl
jeans and trainers.
Case. Like,
the
foam sort of Pepsi style one, or the tin.
Yeah.
The tin that if you're walking down the corridor or something, walking down the stairs at school, and you had the tin in your hand with your books, and you dropped it, it just exploded down the stairs. Your erasers, your pencils, your protractor and set square, everywhere. Like everyone's caught in the fallout. It makes a huge noise. And you are the pencil case tin wanker.
And so when the pencil falls on the floor, the point might break.
Thank you.
We're back, baby. Okay. So... I completely forgot. Well, I got us to that segue, but not to actually what we were talking about. Yeah, so we've got Johnny Utah, we've got Bodhi as the villain of the gang he's infiltrated.
We have Papas, the deranged copper.
Yeah.
We have the...
Lucy Goosey. Gary Busey.
Is this going to develop like I can never remember the names of things, so these are just going to be the names that we're going to start adopting?
We're sticking with the dinosaur.
A little bit like, what was it? Daffodil Head Spitty thing.
Spitty Daffodil Head.
Spitty Daffodil Head and Fat Guy from Third Rock. Okay, I see how this is. I see this. So I guess next up, you've got an incredibly shouty, angry performance from John C. Mcginley, who plays Ben Hart, better known to probably our listeners as one of the characters in Scrubs who is equally shouty and cutting of JD.
The consultant, I forget his name.
I do as well. But to take us back a step, Johnny Utah might not have been played by Keanu Reeves. Apparently Patrick Swayze tested for it originally, and it was offered to Matthew Broderick and Willem Dafoe.
Bueller.
And other people who auditioned for it included...
Willem Dafoe?
Elias from Full Metal Jacket? No, Platoon. I always get... It's from Platoon. with the most epic death scene in any movie.
I mean, he's a much better actor, but
can you see him as a surfer?
He's got a face like a set square.
He's more Green Goblin than Surfer Dude, for sure. So yeah, dwell on that for a second whilst I just reel off some names that auditioned for this rather spectacular movie. Johnny Depp, hot in the early 90s. Val Kilmer.
Batman.
Yeah. And Charlie Sheen.
Oof.
Now, Val Kilmer, here's a little segue for you. You might enjoy this. You know the football scene they have at night? I couldn't help but think of Top Gun's Running with the Boys volleyball homoerotic spectacular. I don't know if that says a lot about me as a person.
Well, there's quite a bromance in this. There's that sort of trope, I guess, of the Stockholm syndrome of him getting in too deep with the gang and buying into their
surfer
ethos and zen and ideas, and that bears out all the way up till the end of the film. But yeah, what a list there. Johnny Depp, Val Kilmer, I get that. Charlie Sheen, Willem Dafoe.
I know, right?
That's incredible.
And Catherine Bigelow wasn't originally slated to make this film. Production problems meant this film that was originally slated to air in 1987 got delayed, and Ridley Scott of Alien film fame was lined up as the original director. I think it would have been a very different movie had that have transpired.
Whew. In a parallel universe,
Willem Dafoe is surfing and an alien pops out of his chest.
What could have been? What would have been called? Who knows? Johnny Utah.
Not Johnny Utah. All of which ramble, chat and waffle brings us now on to our trope scoring.
Okay, so
the main event, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm going to kick us off with our first trope, and this is about characters called Mary Sues.
Nice.
Is this something you've heard of before, Chris?
I have, because you told me about it.
Can you remember what I said? I'm going to do this. I am a teacher, folks. So I'm going to do this annoying plenary segment where I'm going to test him on the knowledge that he's been taught.
This is like a comprehension at school, isn't it?
Yeah, this will be on the test.
Oh, man. I mean, I might have been drinking when you told me. That's problematic. All right.
I never said I was a good teacher.
No, I never said I was a good student. Okay, a Mary Sue, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. I do remember this. I don't want to steal your thunder, but it's one of those times I actually do remember something. Long-term suffering Lisa will testify to my terrible memory. It's when, as I understand it, a character can do anything. That's my summation of it.
Yeah, that's pretty close. When a character can do anything, and especially when it needs to serve the needs of the plot as well. So,
example.
Let's say, for example, Chris, you're trying to infiltrate a surfer gang on behalf of the FBI.
Like that would ever happen.
It's an out there example, I know, but I'll roll with it if you will.
Okay.
Humour me, and you need to know how to surf, and indeed skydive. This character in particular, he seems to be able to just do anything needed of him. Go out on a surfboard and talk zen and surf and be able to conduct an investigation whilst being able to surf at the same time. And it's something that a lot of protagonists and a lot of writers end up guilty of with their protagonists, because it's quite a rushed way of getting to where the story points need to be.
So they're kind of making the main protagonist into like a human Swiss Army knife, if you will. They've got like all the facets. They can do it all.
That's much better than Mary Sue. I like that.
Thank you. Trope Stormers, we like to name our tropes. They might not use the conventional terms, but the point, I think, doesn't get lost. Other examples, because we were discussing this earlier, and there's a few Star Wars examples, I believe, that sum up this Mary Sue predicament.
Now, I might be controversial for the second episode.
Are we going to get a lot of hate? Did we rig on Star Wars in the first one?
We didn't really discuss Star Wars too much, but I'm a big fan of the original movies. I'm not such a great fan of the newer ones. I don't know how you feel about that, Chris.
Don't worry, I'm just calling our lawyer right now.
He's actually, where are you going with that? You're sharpening something. Put that down. I'm not a great fan. I'm particularly not a great fan of Rey as a character. I appreciate why she is popular. She's obviously a great role model for
A strong female independent woman.
absolutely, and I've no truck with that whatsoever. But she is guilty of, and the writers are guilty of, her being able to do seemingly anything. Pilot a starship, no problem.
Pilot the Millennium Falcon. Know that the Millennium Falcon's got some problem with the hyperdrive and how to fix it. Seemingly get on board with the grumpiest man in the universe, Han Solo.
I feel like you've had a similar train of thought.
I mean, it's been brewing. I'm not going to lie, it's been percolating. However, I do have a similar beef to take it back to the original Star Wars. Luke Skywalker. Like, he hung out with Yoda for what seemed like not very long. It was kind of like summer camp. And suddenly he was like all Jedi Master sort of thing. I kind of felt a bit that way with that.
Yeah, he dropped a few rocks.
He balanced a few rocks. Yoda was on his back. He went down a tunnel and didn't kill his father. Well, imagine if people were listening and they didn't know that.
Yes.
I also realised at this late juncture in the podcast, we have not adhered to our policy of we're going to spoil some stuff. Serious spoilage going on. Left, right, and centre.
Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah and Mary Sue. He can do anything.
Having said that,
Bodhi can as well. Because Bodhi comes in and gets all kick ass, quite literally. Like they both can fight. Johnny Utah, I can see it. He's FBI. And, you know, all-state NFL champion.
I never really thought about it from the point of view of the villain. I don't know. Villains tend to get away with this quite a bit. They'll be able to do things that are highly skilled. I think it probably adds to their character somewhat, as them being more of a threat.
Well, if we look at like the super villainous types, as we said, discussed earlier, Voldemort or Sauron, they're always kind of, those ones are the pinnacle of bad guy. And they're also in a fantasy realm. They're a wizard or they can get away with it. Bodhi is not.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to sympathise with him and like him, aren't we? In a lot of ways.
I think we're sort of meant to buy into his... It's kind of like when you're in first year of halls at uni and you're all smoking weed and being righteous and trying to set the world to rights and, you know, yeah, man, zen, brah, and like trying to sort of, it's all systems and control and, have you ever listened to Dark Side of the Moon backwards and synced it up with Alice in Wonderland, man? You know, it's sort of something that I think most people probably grow out of.
He's supposed to be quite a cool and relatable character. Johnny Utah is a bit in awe of him, yet he's supposed to be who he's after. We're always saying he's a Mary Sue at being good at surfing and being good at skydiving. He's a pretty bad cop.
He's a terrible cop. He's a terrible actor. I mean...
Like, at one point, they're on a stakeout to watch the ex-presidents, see if they turn up to rob a bank. He goes off to
get meatball sandwiches.
Which
is important, especially on a stakeout.
And Chris.
You don't want to be hangry on a stakeout.
Exactly. I mean, of my many friends in the Met, the first thing they'll tell you is the importance of a meatball sandwich,
right,
in police work. However, I feel it gets in the way.
Yeah. In the absence of a Subway, what are you going to do? Not go on stakeout?
Loosey Goosey, Gary Bussey, is reading a comic and just laughing at a comic.
I let that go because I kind of feel like the ship sailed on him a long time ago. Like
he is a Mary Sue, but not great at the thing he's supposed to be doing.
I don't think we hammered that point home enough. He's buying a meatball sandwich. It's daylight. In the background, a car squeals to a halt. 4 guys with guns and masks of ex-presidents run into a bank. The bank they're staking out. Keanu's buying a meatball sandwich. Lucy Boosey's reading a comic. It's no wonder they've got problems in LA.
Yeah. Maybe he's not so much of a Mary Sue as we think.
His acting testifies to that.
I think the whole idea of a Mary Sue is handled in much better ways with some other characters as well. So in like the Indiana Jones series, for instance, Indy's shown to be quite capable at times, but there's always a lot of tension in the scenes. He always looks like he's about to lose out somehow.
Yeah. And man don't like snakes.
He do not like snakes. Yeah, so I guess good writers and you know better movies. These things are built better around the character. You know, they have flaws and conflicts that they have to get around.
Like a kryptonite complex. Superman is Superman, but you shove some kryptonite under his beak and shit falls apart.
So Utah's got his meatball sandwich. That's his kryptonite.
I think that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Shall we move on to your next? What's your trope?
Okay, so I'm going to pitch with this. Let's say that you are trying to infiltrate a surfer gang. Okay, you don't know squat.
I don't know where you get these analogies from.
I know, right? You don't know squat about surfing. What is the easiest, fastest way for you to become badass at your chosen skill?
I would guess it would require me to take a considerable amount of time, maybe a series of weeks or months, to be able to plan a strategy, find out the time, resources, fit in with my existing time and resources,
do some research,
work it around my actual
find a trainer,
job of work, find a trainer,
set some money aside.
These things cost. And you want to make sure you've got the right guy, right?
And not only that, I mean, they say to become a pro at anything, like, it's 10,000 hours. So we're basically looking to condense 10,000 hours. And I worked this out, like 10,000 hours. I was thinking about this today. If you spend an hour a day working on something, trying to become amazing at it, that's pretty much 30 years, an hour a day. And obviously you've got to write off the early part of your life because you're a baby. That's still a very long period of time. But we don't have time because we're in a movie. What are we going to do?
You got a montage.
Damn straight. Even Rocky had a montage.
Wow. We've got a pretty classic version of that trope in this.
We've got like the Coke Zero version of this, in my opinion. Like Rocky, I think, really sets the standard in montage. You've got a badass soundtrack that really is pumping. The sort of thing that you'd have on your like working out marathon playlist. Something to get you real pumped. You're showing failure. Then you're showing small snippets of improvement. And then you're running up the stairs like it was nothing. You're catching that chicken like you're greased lightning. Like you're shouting Adrian from the ring having just floored Apollo Creed. That's what I'm after, baby. Or you're the Karate Kid. You're the best around. You're better than all the rest of them.
Yeah, music usually helps, doesn't it? It used to have
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah. Or Gonna Fly Now from the early ones.
Yeah, even better, I guess. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The montage is a classic. Usually really good when somebody's trying to prepare for something or trying to show off, I guess, some knowledge that some people have or possess.
It's like zero to hero.
In the recent Marvel films, without giving any too many spoilers away for those, Tony Stark's character is shown to be a genius. Okay, we're talking about surfing in this instance, but his ability to be a scientist, create something, develop the most fantastic technology that's ever been seen.
All whilst being suave as.
Absolutely. Is shown off. And, it really brings these characters to life in quite a strong way. Does it do it for Johnny Utah in this instance?
Well, we haven't got to that segment yet. It's not time to score. Stay tuned for that. I'm just saying the montage is out there, and that's my first trope.
Okay, so we've got Mary Sue.
Mm-hmm. Mary Sue and montage.
And montage.
All that them M's.
So far.
Serve me up your next trope. I'm at the baseline. Got my racket in my hand. What you got?
I think it's time for some trivia, Chris.
Ooh.
Now, one thing I noticed when we were watching this, the similarity to a very, very recent film series. I mean, we've been fairly critical of this so far, as well as praising it in a lot of ways. But it seems to have had a very heavy influence on a certain modern franchise of films.
I think I know where this is headed. Are you talking about The Fast and or The Furious? The Fast and the Furious is basically Point Break with car chases. You've got a guy infiltrating a gang who are up to no good. As memory serves, in the first one, they're basically stealing electronics. And at the time of making, those electronics concerned DVD players.
Wow.
How times have moved on. You look back now, it's like they're just stealing obsolete formats. No one uses DVD. Jim Carberg uses those as coasters, people. I use them as frisbees. Sometimes I use them as a mirror. Obsolete formats. Mini disc players. I had one. Not ashamed to admit it. Fast and the Furious. Poor man's Point Break.
My second trope. So we have three really strong examples
of your next trope.
Of my next trope. So we have the mention of the 50-year storm cycle.
Now, I actually wish I'd researched this. Like, I wonder if this is just like surfer waffle, or there is actually some truth in any of this. That every 50 years there is a cycle where, like the planets aligning, like the situation is a perfect storm that is going to provide a killer wave, and you can predict when and where that's going to land. In this instance, Bells Beach in Australia.
During a chase.
Nicely tying in.
The 50-year storm cycle, and then towards at a point in the film, it's heavily hinted that this is going to be somewhere important. I believe it finishes there.
Yes, it ends on this note. It kind of happens early enough in the film when Johnny Utah has infiltrated said gang and is on a information gathering exercise before anything really kicks off.
Undercover. Johnny Utah legwork.
Johnny the Sleuth Utah.
Not tragic to die doing something you love. That's what Bodhi tells him.
Ooh, cryptic.
So, yeah. Surfer robbers.
I see where you're going with this. It's kind of at a similar time when we find a little bit out about the backstory of the Johnny Utah character as he is portrayed to Bodhi.
I think the reason he's in the FBI is because he's got a football injury.
He's got a gammy leg. In his own words, my leg was at right angles. My knee, no, bollocks. I can't do that.
That was the first impression of the podcast as well. We had a fair few last week.
My leg was at right angles to my... No, fuck!
Whoa, just stick to that. Whoa.
Oh, bruh, my leg was at right angles. No, keep saying leg. It's not right. Oh, bruh, my knee was at right angles to my leg.
Whoa.
Nailed it.
The football injury, a big thing.
There's an amazing chase scene, post-bank robbery. Johnny Utah is in hot pursuit of Bodhi. It turns out most of LA don't lock any of their doors. People are at liberty to just run through the streets, run through people's houses, through their backyards, hurdle over the back gate. At one point, there is an amazing set piece. Bodhi throws a dog.
A dog is thrown and kicked.
I mean, who writes this stuff? He doesn't get paid enough, clearly. He has to moonlight at tables. And they end up in one of those like storm drain bits. I don't know what you call them. They seem to come up a lot, like Drive. The movie, he drives down it. There's a chase scene in Terminator 2.
Oh.
T-1000 and Terminator 2 on a Harley Davidson.
Like a concrete ditch.
Yeah. They seem to be very popular. Maybe it's an LA thing. I don't know.
Greece has a race in one.
Greece has a race in one. It all happens. His knee buckles. We've alluded to this. He drops down, lands clumsily. His knee gives way. There's a lot of agony. He's rolling around and writhing, and he draws his gun. He's got a clear shot on Patrick Swayze. Does he fire?
No. You get the hot fuzz.
The hot fuzz
Callback.
moment. He rolls on his...
That was radio gold there, people. Chris was miming lying on the floor and firing a gun into the air. We'll gif it for good reference.
Check it out.
Basically, the classic moment from this film, isn't it?
Yes. It is the iconic Spielberg scene, if you will, to pick up on Jurassic Park from last week. It's also funny as well how on that same day and the following day, his agony of his knee becomes a distant memory, and he's walking about like nobody's business.
Kicking dogs.
Just kicking dogs, catching dogs.
On the volley.
Catches one magnificently into Rosette. Yeah, very convenient that.
So we've got it's like callbacks really, isn't it? Like foreshadowing and callbacks where they hint at something that's going to pay off later in the film. With the biggest being the gunfire.
The vault. When at the beginning, Bussey, in one of his more lucid moments, is prepping Utah, and Utah observes that they don't go in the vault. Burns time. And then for some inexplicable reason, they go in the vault. And
should we talk through the bank robbery? How do they operate?
Well, they are known as the ex-presidents. Can you name those presidents? They all wear masks.
We've got a Nixon.
There is Nixon, and there's some Nixon impressions. Can you do a Nixon impression?
I'm not a crook.
Far better than Mandela. I mean, Attenborough.
I can't do Reagan, but Reagan's there.
Reagan's there, yep.
Would you have a Jimmy Carter?
I think we have a Jimmy Carter. Now, the next one, I'll be impressed.
Is it an older one?
I have no idea the chronology of presidents.
Is it a Kennedy?
It is not a Kennedy.
That would be bad luck. You'll get shot if you're a Kennedy.
Bad things. LBJ.
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Hells yeah, man!
Oh, he's the one man who never wanted to be president.
Exactly. Probably didn't want to do a bank robbery, neither.
No. So yeah, the ex-president's gang.
Yeah, they storm in, not guns blazing. They have never killed anybody in any of their heists, 30 odd to name, and
27 in 3 days. It says at one point.
That's not humanly possible. Anyway, artistic license. They storm in unannounced, jump on top of things, make a pretty smooth speech, and steal money from cash registers. Nobody gets harmed. No one's a hero. And they drive off into the sunset.
And they never enter the vault.
And this is a very important point. I cannot stress enough. Do not go into the vault. Don't stare into the light. Don't say Candyman 3 times in the mirror.
Don't move. His vision's based on movement.
Precisely.
It's just the rules of the universe.
Yeah, consistent as gravity.
Yeah, and he breaks them. He breaks his own rule.
Breaks his own rules, inexplicably for no reason whatsoever. Obviously, things kick off, it all goes pear-shaped, and then they break another rule. And this isn't one of their own rules, but I'd kind of say in bank robbery, this is 101. Do not take off your mask under any circumstances. They've got cameras even in 1991. The worst thing you could do. This is Johnny Utah levels of infiltration.
Yeah.
But Johnny Utah doesn't get a mask. He's just got to wander in with his face on display. He's a copper.
He actually goes to them afterwards. He faces them down, aims guns at them at the bank robbery as Johnny Utah.
Yeah. Whoa, they come to his house. But there's like no animosity. It's all a bit too cool. It's all very odd. It's almost like everybody's in on it, but no one's going to say anything. And it plays out very strangely with a lot of bruh and buddy and Zen mysticism. And I don't know. It's bizarre.
So this comes at a point where it's a bit of a turning point in the film, isn't it? Yeah, they've got their meatball sandwiches that they've had to abandon, I should imagine.
Or put to one side.
Loosey Goosey Bussey has abandoned his comic.
He might have eaten both.
The only logical explanation. The man's a loose cannon.
Old 2 subs. He wants his foot long.
Is Bussey an anagram of subby?
I think that is highbrow like podcasting there. You're in for a treat, podcast. Okay, so foreshadowing as a trope.
Yeah, it's old as hell.
Signposting.
Classic signposting and exposition going on.
Yeah.
But it's used very heavily throughout this film. The 50-year storm cycle, the mirrored image of the football injury, and then the classic shot of firing into the air.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good one for that reason, I think. I like that use of that one.
I mean, if it came down to it, I'd let that slide.
The bizarre never goes into the vault thing is...
Breaking your own rules. Your number one rules.
Is really odd.
And unexplained.
Let's talk about the latter half of the latter part of the film.
Okay.
So towards the end game, if you like.
Okay, we're moving that way.
Tyler.
We
haven't heard much about Tyler.
The love interest. His gateway drug into surfing, bruh. I don't think she's a brilliantly written character. Not very well drawn. Mentioned me previously. Manic Pixie Tank Girl, Manic Pixie Dream Girl. They're never built on very realistic foundations. A nerd's fantasy realized. They don't have much depth to them, in my opinion, and that's why they are a trope in and of themselves. One thing I did notice, do you notice how there was a lot of soft focus and a lot of smoky rooms or hazy rooms, like all interior shots had this weird soft focus thing going on. Like they'd bought it by the boatload.
Yeah, it was pretty misty, right? It was like being on Bodmin Moor or something.
Yeah, like they just stole a dry ice or effects smoke machine from a touring band like Iron Maiden. Maybe James Cameron had it hanging around from the cryo scene in Terminator 2 or something.
Getting their money's worth.
Yeah,
as a couple.
But yes, Tyler. Now this is what a real sticking point for me. I've got two here for you.
He's clapping, ladies and gentlemen, with rage.
It was probably flapping, but let's call it clapping. It's more macho. Because Tyler is his guru originally. She's like his Mr. Miyagi. Gets him all like trained up in the art of surfing so he can infiltrate the surfing gang. And she has a personal relationship with Bodhi. So I can't remember exactly when it is, but there is like a sexy time on the beach scene between Johnny Utah and Tyler. Long-suffering Lisa, at the time, without any provocation, just said, "Oh, you don't want to get sand in your vagina." And then said, "Oh, I hope she's got some Caniston." Their other products are available. But I think that was probably revenge for all the things I subject her to watching.
In the films.
In a purely film sense. Yeah. Just glad we cleared that up. But no, she has this weird habit throughout the film of looking at Johnny Utah, deducing from his wooden mannequin-like features that are bereft of emotion exactly what he's thinking or what's going on. Like some weird clairvoyance going on. Something I also want to bring up at this juncture. Now, my research turned this up, and I think this is amazing. I almost discounted it at first. There was, and I don't know if there still is, a Point Break live. So there was a theatre rendition of Point Break, which consisted of actors performing the entire movie on stage with one little catch. A random audience member was drawn on the evening to play the part of Johnny Utah, Keanu Reeves, unannounced, unknown to them, not knowing the script, the lines, the stage directions, or anything, and them having to muddle their way through it with nothing more than cue cards. The point being, it would mirror the performance of Keanu Reeves.
Brutal.
That is brutal. That is the sort of thing that could put you off acting for life. Kudos to him for like sticking it out.
I like Keanu Reeves. I mean, John Wick's out at the minute.
I've not seen a John Wick yet.
Oh, you have to see John Wick.
I have heard good things.
I mean, it's you know, don't get me wrong. He's not playing Lear in these films, but he plays that kind of stone cold killer quite well. There are some YouTube videos around of him actually doing his weapons training and things like that. I would not get on the wrong side of that guy, I tell you.
Well, you've done Matrix previously.
I wouldn't be criticising acting, that's for sure. To his face.
Now, this could turn into a little bit of a tangent for Keanu. I too have a lot of love for the man. His surname is not too dissimilar from mine.
Yeah.
Keanu means the peaceful one in Chinese. He's also comes across as a really sound guy. So I heard a story that apparently when he's on set, he likes to get to know everybody. And I mean like... like the set designers.
Mr. Reeves.
I know. I didn't say intimately. The carpenters, all the various different people. He likes to build a relationship with them as a person and get to know them on like first name basis. And apparently, I think it was on The Matrix, he was talking to, I think the guy was a carpenter or something. And I don't know, over maybe like a cup of tea, over some time, he'd related that he'd fallen on hard times and was struggling to make payments on his mortgage. And Keanu Reeves, to cut a long story short, paid his mortgage off for no reason whatsoever other than just being a really nice guy. And apparently he's given vast amounts of his fortune away to charity and lives quite a simple life.
Yeah, it makes you feel bad when you get people making musicals taking the piss out of him for that reason.
Who's doing that?
I don't know. I wouldn't entertain such a thing, even if I was invited on stage to play undercover legend Johnny Utah.
Right, I've caught up with you now.
Yeah. So, Chris, back from the tangent. A good one. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, I had a good time. But, you know, like I say, I mean, I would have been rowing around in the middle of Tropey Ocean. The trope of... What is it like?
The trope of good hope.
The trope of no hope.
Yeah, the cape of good... The cape of...
No, the cape of bad trope.
Cape of bad trope. Yeah, say it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you rescued me. I would have been aimlessly circling the cape of no trope.
Nice.
With Wilson as my only company ranting at the sky had you not have come and rescued me. So that brings us conveniently on to my final trope. This is one that plays out in countless movies. It adds that little bit of spice. It really ups the ante. If, you're up against it, I mean, not necessarily a montage, something bad is going to happen. And that bad thing is magnified, amplified massively by you having an implausibly small amount of time in which to do it.
Okay. I suppose it's similar to another Keanu classic in Speed.
Speed!
Where there's a limit, like a speed limit literally set.
Literally
on
a
that,
speed
but
limit.
you're talking about a time limit.
Time limit. So this isn't a 55 mile an hour thing. And if you were to take this to its really furthest logical conclusion, you'd be Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer in 24.
Oh, yes, sir.
I think we should visit that for a trope.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good example because it embodies this, doesn't it? The idea of, these events occur in real time. Each event you see in 24 is an hour.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a 6-hour time frame to save Tyler from certain death in this film.
Certain death, yep. She's suddenly become Princess Daisy of the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves is Mario. And Bodhi is Cooper, to break it down.
Good callback.
Thank you.
Good callback. So talk us through the time frame for the 6-hour against the clock.
Well,
pressure.
Basically, Bodhi has kidnapped Tyler, and he's made a home video that shows that Bodhi is with one of his goons, and if Johnny Utah doesn't conform and help them out with a bank heist, then she's going to be pushing up the daisies. Initially, he's conflicted, and I've got to say, Keanu Reeves conflicted is not a range of emotion that he can pull off. I mean, firing at the sky sort of got him out of jail earlier, but this time it's more of a kind of facial. I think he actually shouts "fuck" and punches something at one point.
That is range.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
you can't teach that in
all
acting
3
school.
feet of it.
And also, that's another thing with James Bond movies. It's almost the Austin Powers I'm going to place you in an incredibly slow dipping mechanism that you will easily be able to escape from. It's just a way of upping the ante, creating more tension, more suspense, more drama, but you've imposed a time frame on it, basically. Okay, so we've got to that moment now. Decisions have to be made. We have to score this. We have to decide whether this is a dystopian monstrosity or a utopian masterpiece. Just to give you an idea on the scoreboard, Jurassic Park is currently our top of the leaderboard with a magnificent 3-1 win.
Mm-hmm.
Got all the people talking. How is Point Break going to shape up?
Well, as I said before, Chris, I like this film. I think it's a real enjoyable watch. Shame it resulted in a terrible remake. Do not watch that, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't even bother.
Good. Glad to hear it. It is a good film. It's
I would call it
film.
An enjoyable romp.
A romp.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. We'll go with that. So it's an enjoyable romp. But romp does not utopia make, necessarily.
No.
The good elements of this for me, if I'm thinking about my own tropes, I basically mentioned the negative ones, really. I do not like Mary Sue's.
Okay.
But I do like an against the clock. I do like a montage. Yeah?
Okay. I like a montage as much as the next guy. But this, it was a bit wet. I think I said before, this is like the Diet Coke of montages. It's, the tune isn't there to carry it across. He's learning to surf, not becoming a Jedi Master, boxing champion of the world.
Right.
I'm placing it in context here.
Okay. So this is a tricky one, Chris. I like the against the clock. I like the ending. I think it's got a nice tense ending. It's a bit hammy. He throws his badge into the sea, which is a bit of a cliche to say the least.
Why doesn't he have a gun? Why do they engage in a fight on the beach? Why has he not got a firearm? Maybe it's because he's in Australia and he has no jurisdiction, so he's not allowed a firearm. I don't know. I'm not an expert. But also, when she gets released, he's lied to her. He's completely lied to her. He's a police officer, but used her to infiltrate her mates. Patrick Swayze's basically left her for dead as well. And she runs to him in a nightie. and almost drops the love bomb.
That's because he's the best undercover officer ever. That's what he's Johnny Utah, man.
All right, yeah, okay, I forgot that.
Master FBI agent.
FBI agent!
So good. Yeah, a lot of the ending does not make sense. Like, why is he still a police officer? How is he still a police officer?
How is he still a police officer?
Where does the helicopter come from?
Why does he let him go? I mean, that's that weird poetic ending, isn't it? Like, he's gonna kill himself in there. He's a goner, but no, I think you'd probably, your police officer brain would kick in and be like, he's going to rot in jail.
Yeah, not just die doing something he loves.
Not make an impassioned speech, bruh, about being like Zen and like, this is his moment, like he's Martine McCutcheon or something. I'm not having that.
So this isn't boding well so far on there. We've got to think about, we've got to be objective, right?
Always.
However hammy the ending.
Are you putting your paleontology hat on?
Don't make me bring that back out of the box. I've put that away.
I hid it on purpose.
Just as well. This is your choice. We're going to own whatever decision is made together. I like the Against the Clock. I like the montage. I don't mind the montage. I think it's a good enough use of it. Yeah, and it serves the plot well, which is what I'm focused on. It's important, and I like how it builds the Against the Clock element of the tension created by that with the bank robbery, and then you have the pretty spectacular skydiving sequence.
How have we not talked about this? He jumps out of a plane without a parachute. No one does that. And also Patrick Swayze throws his gun back in handily, so he now has a firearm, can hold it to Patrick Swayze's head, and then have to make a Sophie's choice about whether to threaten him or they both die in a weird macho standoff. Like, we haven't even begun to cover this. I actually have some facts about this. So there's a TV show called Mythbusters who set out to determine in one of their episodes whether this was feasible or not. Whether a man could jump out of a plane, catch someone that had fallen before, and hold on to him whilst they opened the chute at the stage that they did. So it turns out that they would not have been able to free fall for the 90 seconds in the film or be able to hold a conversation in midair. However, Johnny Utah, by streamlining his body, would have been able to catch up. A lot of artistic license in flight there.
He's Johnny Utah, mate. Mary Sue, best undercover police officer of all time. That's just how it works.
Not in my name.
It's interesting, though. I might go watch that Mythbuster show after this episode. But back to the scoring, because that's what we've got to be at. I'm sticking with the montage. I'm scoring the montage. I'm putting my foot down. I like the montage. I like the Against the Clock. It leads nicely into what we've just described. There's a really fantastic, if albeit scientifically inaccurate, skydiving scene. And that works well for the end of the film. Okay, it goes into a pretty hokey, hammy, weird, pseudo-poetic ending where he dies doing what he loves. That's two positives for me for this.
Well, let me stop you there. In football terms, are you calling this 2-0 already? That's what it sounds like to me.
At this point, I'm calling it 2-0. I haven't looked properly at the impact of the Mary Sue because the Mary Sue is one of the biggest trope sins.
Okay.
So I've got to factor that in.
Okay.
But what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm still hurting from the montage, but I can move past it. I do think that being able to do anything, the Mary Sue, it is a real cop-out. I think almost any instance where it crops up, it's bad. It's almost impossible to see it in a positive light unless it is Rocky or Team America. I agree, I love a montage. I can't deny my love for the montage. This might not have been the greatest example, but it's still a montage. I think you're probably right. The Against the Clock, again, very hackneyed, very stereotypical, serves a purpose though. And they are being utilised right. They are moving the story forwards, helping with the story arc. I can't deny you with that one. I think those goals weren't spectacular, if we're going to use football analogies. Maybe one was a penalty. Maybe one was just sort of a tap-in. The Mary Sue, I think I'm with you on this one. I almost find it as a trope inexcusable when used to this extreme.
I'm going to say that is 2 negative points for the use of a Mary Sue. I hate it that much, Chris.
Whoa. When did you become the referee? When did you rescore? Well, we still got foreshadowing to go, man.
It's whether that's used well.
It's 2-1 as I see it.
2-1 as you see it at the minute.
And I kind of feel like Mary Sue has got a yellow card. It's bordering on a red card. VAR will reveal whether it's a red card. So foreshadowing. I think this can be used quite subtly. I think that's absolutely fine in terms of like aiding a story narrative. If sort of peppering something with some subtlety. This, for me, there's not a lot of subtlety going on here. They've basically told you how it's going to end with the 50-year storm and the line, "Not tragic to die doing something you love."
That's a biggie, isn't it?
That is. They've dropped a clanger there.
Word die.
Yeah.
That
really sort of...
Yeesh.
If you're paying attention, it's not hard to fathom how this is going down. The football injury, it does give me the gunfire, hot fuzz, dum, 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 dum moment. And, you know, like for that alone, that is iconic Spielberg. But however, then they really shoot themselves in the foot with "We Don't Go in the Vault."
That was a good Anthony Kiedis reference there. He shoots himself in the foot in this film, doesn't he?
He does. And have we even mentioned the Kiedis?
We haven't mentioned the Kiedis.
Oh, he's popping up late in the show. Anthony Kiedis, who is the lead singer in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, is one of the surfer punks who tries to do a number on Keanu earlier in the film and fails because Patrick Swayze also is a bit of a Mary Sue and is a martial arts ninja. But yeah.
So this film literally shoots itself in the foot.
Literally shoots itself, figuratively, metaphorically. It does it all. And so, yes, the Never Go in the Vault, it's just setting up for a fall. And I kind of feel that's some bad foreshadowing going on here.
Let's say I'm being fair and I don't double down on the Mary Sue. We've got 2 for the montage of improvement. We've got the Against the Clock.
And we're facing up against the Mary Sue and foreshadowing.
So are we looking at 2-2?
It's 2-2 presently. Do we play extra time? I don't know how this works.
Do we have an injury time trope?
Do we?
That could decide this one way or the other?
So there is one that we can throw out there.
Where's this come from, Chris?
Well, if nothing, I am prepared. Jim Carberg.
Oh, we're working with pros here.
I love doing my research. More than just trivia, more than tangents. Come up with the goods when you need them. So, to describe this final tie-deciding trope, because I think the way this is going is we don't do draws.
We don't do draws.
There are no draws in Trope Land.
Dystropia or utopia. Them's the breaks.
Well, you can't say fairer than that. We said in the first one, this ain't no 50 Shades. We binary, yo. In this movie, there is a scene where Johnny Utah monumentally balls is up. He thinks he's got the surfer bank robbers pegged. Why, I don't know, but he fails magnificently. And this is a trope that features in lots of films and can be used in far subtler ways, quite often in your sort of murder mystery sort of thing. Sort of like an art of misdirection type of thing going on.
So a misdirect that doesn't lead to what the eventual thing is.
Well, I'm trying to avoid giving it what I've given its full title.
So it has a formal title.
Well, I've given it a title, but I mean, it might be in the same vein as Spitty Daffodil Head, for all I know.
So like, yeah, so like a red herring.
A red herring, yes. That's what I was going for.
Johnny Utah, he is thrown off in some way.
He thinks he's got it pinned. He thinks he knows who the bad guys are, and they do a botched stakeout. I think that's why the guy throws a dog at him, but I'm not 100% sure. That might be later, actually.
It's where Kiedis shoots his foot.
It's where Keanu shoots his foot. Basically, he thinks he's got the 4 ex-presidents nailed down. He thinks it's these punks that tried to do a number on him at the beach. He's so sure of it. He calls it in with Bussey. Haven't heard from him in a while. But Boosie's all for it. He loves it. He's going to take people down. And they stage a raid, and there's shots fired. There's lots of death, and it turns out to be the wrong people because there's already a copper who's working deep cover on a drug bust, and it's all a fritz. It all goes wrong, and Johnny Utah gets blamed, and he doesn't get fired for that.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Like, this guy is Teflon. Like, people die. Like, Johnny Utah doesn't seem to be particularly good at this whole undercover cop thing.
Well, that's what happens when your face wins MTV awards.
He clearly had been, he'd already been thinking ahead of this. He was already at the awards ceremony, writing his speech, trying not to put Swayze down too much and acting too smug and being like, Ghost what? Like, the pot of this, you bastard. And also, in some of, there's so much dialogue in this that you can glance over because there's so many clangers in it. Bussey, during one of his more frank moments, summarizing the failed bust, says, I had to kill a guy. I hate having to write that up. Sweep it under the carpet. Multiple people died. Your partner's culpable. You look like a moron.
And you're right. It is an utterly moronic decision for our super cop, Johnny Utah, to make.
Well, they even make a point of it because angry, shouty guy from Scrubs makes the point the dates didn't marry up. When they did one of the bank heists, these guys were somewhere else doing something else. Why was no one talking to each other? The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. LAPD's a laughing stock. Loads of bogus criminals are now dead.
All because
Johnny Utah is a muppet.
So,
it doesn't look good, does it?
It's not looking good.
It's extra time.
Extra time. We've got 2-all, montage.
Golden goal wins.
Time frame, tension, against absolute cardinal sin of the Mary Sue.
Yeah, it's unforgivable.
And poor foreshadowing.
Terrible signpost. I mean, they might as well have just, had a big, if you were going to have a map, this is like the X marks the spot sort of, you are here, you are getting to here, this is how it ends, by the way.
About as subtle as tits on a fish.
Exactly. Whatever that means. Must be a northern thing. I think in extra time, in light of the red herring, I think this is like a clanger. I think, it's bobbled in off a shin. This might be an oggy.
An oggy.
An oggy.
Dare we say it? We're in dystropia, aren't we?
Oh, crumbs. We haven't been here before. I don't know what this feels like. I don't know if I like it.
Well, after last week, it
was all joys and sunshines and rainbows and ice creams for everybody.
It's a real contrast. And I like this film.
I do too.
But that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to...
crestfallen.
We're not here to like films. We're here to talk about them.
Through tropes. Through the prism of tropes.
Indeed. So, it's a dark day for Point Break and Johnny Utah. Super sleuth and super cop extraordinaire.
3-2, man.
The tropes just didn't come through for him.
They did not. This is officially dystopian. I don't know if we have a sound effect for that.
It'd be like what was that? There's like a show that had like Riker from Star Trek in it, and it was like
Jonathan Frakes.
Well, yeah, whether they'd missed whether it was made up stuff, and it'd go boom, like busted on it or something like that.
Because don't we have a whoosh coming for something?
For a dead horse.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Okay.
I'll be a bit more inventive with my sound effects this time.
Okay. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Point Break is dystopian. It's official. I think we've been as objective as we can be. You as a paleontologist, me as a semi-functioning biped. That's pretty much all we can do at this juncture. I'm sorry. Things don't always turn out how you hope they would be.
Let us know how you think we did with the scoring, whether we were fairer this week, whether we got it right.
Room for improvement.
Room for improvement.
You know,
it's our first dystopia. It's only the second time that we've done it.
Yeah.
So maybe, there might be a call for a review, but at this stage, it's confined to dystropia. But do let us know. Do get in touch with the podcast.
How can I get in touch?
Well, we are contactable on Twitter at Trope Stormers.
Okay.
As well as tropestormers@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with the show directly that way.
Super Deeps.
We do have an Instagram. We are Trope Stormers on Instagram. And we have our Facebook page of Trope Stormers Podcast.
Man, we're on all the social medias.
So we're growing and growing. Trope Stormers storming
them tropes
all over the web.
Okay, so as we play out, what are you looking forward to in the coming week, Mr. Carlberg?
Well, the big dragon-sized elephant in the room is we're coming up to the big finale for GOT.
Game of Thrones.
And that's going to be huge. I feel like we're going to have to talk about that fairly soon.
10 years in the making. It's been quite the journey.
Yeah, so we'll have to have a think about that because that's a lot of ground to cover.
It is. Social media has been having kittens, positively, negatively. You can hardly move out there in cyberspace for Game of Thrones fandom, outrage.
Kittens.
Left, right, and centre. So we've got that to look forwards to. I'm very excited. On a personal note, we also have this year's Gala Kitsch Spectacular, Eurovision, to look forwards to. I'm sidestepping all of the political stuff. For me, Eurovision is a camp cabaret of spectacular fabulousness.
It's about a brotherhood of nations.
Exactly, set to a catchy up-tempo Euro beat.
It's what the EU wishes it was.
Exactly. They wish they were. So yes, Eurovision. Can't wait. Love it. Absolutely fabulous. You can play a mean old drinking game to that, and I thoroughly encourage you to. Also, I saw this morning a new trailer for Black Mirror was dropped. I'm a huge fan of the dystopian Charlie Brooker vehicle.
That would be a good one to look at because obviously they tell very different stories. So, you could have a podcast on an individual one to see how successful they are. That's the beauty of doing those vignette pieces that, don't link to another story. You can look at them in isolation. So it's a really great way of looking at that sort of thing.
We can pick out some of our favourites.
Indeed.
Cool. And also on a personal note, I am far behind. I am shamefully haven't been able to see Avengers Endgame yet. And I'm very much looking forward to going to the pictures and checking that out.
So no spoilers. I know we spoil everything on this podcast.
Yeah.
But no spoilers for
please
my good friend Chris here.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So
what do we have any plans for episode 3 of the podcast?
I think we're going to have to build towards Back to the Future at some point.
We're not there yet.
We'll get I do like the idea of time travel.
I like it a lot, but I feel like our flux capacitor is on the blink. Still perfect. I haven't fallen over and hit my head in the toilet yet.
Yeah, I need to smash our heads off some porcelain more to get it working together.
Precise. Johnny Utah, a name very similar to that. If you were to segue along Porpoise, Clairvoyance, you'd come to Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Another one of Keanu Reeves' 90s canon, featuring Ice-T and a clairvoyant dolphin.
I mean, what we could do, we could look at something like The Matrix as well if we wanted to continue on our tropian trials of Keanu Reeves. Although that sounds a little bit unfair. We're going to have to let him come to terms with dystropia this week.
I think we should give the guy some room.
Okay.
However, obviously on the social medias or on email or however you want to get hold of us, if you have any ideas for something that we could potentially investigate and see its trope worthiness, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. I guess that leaves all of us to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your ears. It's been wonderful having you here.
As we always say here on Trope